What we have here is a series of usernames and passwords which I have run against a particular IP address, which is 192.168.40.155. And if I scroll down, you will see that we have an account success here, meaning that we have successfully gotten the password to this operating system. The operating system's IP address is 192.168.40.155. So welcome to today's tutorial. In today's tutorial, we are going to look at a brute force attack using a particular tool which comes in handy and which is found pre-installed in Kali Linux. So first of all, we are going to see what a brute force attack is. We are going to see how it is done and why penetration testers carry out a brute force attack. And then we are going to end by looking at the security measures which we can put in place to trace if a hacker was in your system. We are going to look at how we can defend against such an attack. And then we are going to end by looking at the security measures that can be put in place so as to keep the attacker out of the system. So watch this tutorial till the end, and don't forget that this tutorial is only for educational purposes and nothing else. Thank you and have a wonderful time as we watch together. So what I'm going to do is I am going to clear my screen right now, and then I am going to do an ls here. Now, when I do an ls, what I want to show you here is that I have already created a list of usernames and passwords which I want to run against a tool known as Medusa. So let me clear my screen first of all. Sorry. Let me clear my screen. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to run Medusa, and I see dash H. This is the tool which we want to use to carry out our brute force attack. And you can see the various options which we can use to carry out this attack. You can see a dash H here, the dash H flag here, and it says it points to the host name or the target IP address. So if we want to hack a particular device, or if we want to get password to a particular device, we are going to use a dash H. Now we have a dash H here again, which contains or file containing target host names or IP addresses. We have a dash U, which points to the username to test. Now, for example, if you are in a capture the flag type of activity, or if you are a penetration tester and you carry out your information gathering and you discover that there are a particular or a set of usernames belonging to employees in an organization, what you do is that you are going to save those usernames in a file, and then you are going to look for possible passwords that could match any of those usernames for those employees in that organization, and then you try to look for the combination of the password that will combine, or that is going to match with a particular username, and then you can now have a point of access to that organization. So this is what the dash U is doing. It is pointing to the file of username that you want to test. And then you can see this other dash U here. It contains a file containing usernames which you want to test, like I said initially. And then this dash P here, which is very important, dash P, capital P, please, is very important. It contains the files of passwords. Let's say, for example, that you go to an organization, you see that there are 10 employees in that organization, and then you want to look for possible combination of passwords that could match any of these usernames or any of these employees in this organization. You are going to use a set of passwords. So we are going to create a file that contain passwords, and then we are going to try to look which password is going to match which username here, and then we are going to be able to brute force this operating system, or brute force this operating system using that particular username and password. So these are other flags here, or other options here. You can see file to append log information to. We are seeing dash D, which stands for dump all non-modules. We are seeing dash N, which stands for use for non-default TCP port number, enable SSL, which is secure socket layer, and every other flag which you may want to play with in your free time. So I am going to clear my screen right now. And what I'm going to do is that we are now going to try to get a list of usernames and a list of passwords, and then we are going to try to combine them. So if I come to my main screen here and I type ls, for example, if we look here, I have already created a list of usernames here. Now you can see password.txt. These are the proposed passwords which I've already created. So I am going to open this file. I'm going to do nano password.txt. This is password.txt. This nano here is a text auditor. What I'm simply telling Kali Linux here is that, look, I want you to open this particular file or this particular folder in this operating system and show me what is found in it. And if I hit enter, it shows me the combination or the list of passwords, proposed passwords, which I've put here. Now, take note that this is for demonstration purposes only because I am doing this in a safe and a controlled environment. You don't have to do this if you are not authorized. And if you want to practice this, I propose you get a hacking lab at home and then you can play with this tool. So these are the these are the passwords which I have proposed here. So I am going to get out of that directory, and then we are going to look at the user name or the word list here, which is pointing to the list of employee names which I may have found in that organization as a penetration tester. So I am going to do nano, and I do word list wordlist.txt, and I hit enter. And I'm going to explain again. Now, let's say, for example, that you are a penetration tester and you get into an organization and you discover that there are employees, there is an employee like Patrick, there is an employee like Gilbert, and then there's you suspect that there could be an employee using a username as administrator, or that there could be an employee using a username like admin. So you gather all this and you put it together in a file. You can as well go online, or you can go to Kali Linux and you look for possible usernames like in rocku.txt, whereby you can get those combinations. But for the case or for this tutorial, I just want to limit us to these usernames here. The purpose here is for you to get the concept and for you to understand how a brute force attack is done using a tool like Medusa. So I'm going to come out of this directory, and then I am going to clear my screen again. And the next thing now we are going to be doing is that we are now going to start our brute force. So the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to refer carry to the tool which I'm using, which is called Medusa. And then I'm going to give it a dash M. This dash M is pointing to the services which I want to use. Which service do I want to use? I think it's a capital M, please. Which service do I want to use? I want to use a service known as the file transfer protocol. The file transfer protocol is a protocol that enables a user to be able to download files. It means that if you as a penetration tester, you are pointing Medusa to the file transfer protocol. It means that you are telling Medusa that you don't only want to gain access to the ports or to gain access to the system, but you want to gain access to the services that are running in that operating system. That is what you are telling Medusa, and you are seeing file transfer protocol here. That is the reason for it. And then now the next flag we are going to be using is a dash U. Dash U here, like we saw already, is pointing to the word list. It is pointing to the names of those employees in that organization which you may have gathered information about them and put them in a file, or about their names and put them in a file, and then you want to carry out a brute force attack. So our dash U here is pointing to word list here.txt. This is the name of the file with those usernames. And then now we have the password here, or dash P, which is pointing to the proposed passwords which I already showed you. And these passwords are found in a file or in a folder known as password.txt. And then we have a dash H here. The dash H is pointing to the target operating system. Our target operating system in this case is our Metasploit framework. We are using the Metasploit framework in this case because this is just for demonstration purposes, and we are not carrying out this in a real life attack. So our Metasploit operating system's IP address is 192.168.40.155. If you want to prove this, you come to the Metasploit and you do, let me clear my screen. And you do if config to see which IP address you want to brute force. And you can see 192.168.40.155. So I'm going to come out of my Metasploit and go back to my Kali, and now we are good to go. The next thing you have to do here now is to just press enter. And what you are going to notice is that Medusa now will start checking, you see, account check, file transfer protocol, which is a service which we want to gain access to. And then you are seeing the host name here. The host name here is referring to our Metasploit operating system, which we want to brute force the system. And you can see one of one complete. What is it telling us here? That the user, the first user it has checked is root. So the user's name is root, and that the password which we have checked or which we have run against this username, the first password is I love you, and it has not worked. So it goes again to the second one, root again, and then it uses a different password, which is password 1123. It hasn't worked. And then it goes to the third one, which is the same as, which is still root, and then it does admin as a password. And then it continues till it reaches the second username here. Let's say, for example, that this root here was someone like the CEO's name. And then when you come to admin here, let's say this admin here was someone in the sales department. And then you come to administrator here, let's say it was someone in the IT department who has higher privileges in the organization, or who you may want to get their username and password, and then you can continue with your attack. So it continues running, or Medusa continues running until it is going to get that proposed username and password pointing to this Metasploit framework, which is the target operating system. And then when it gets it, it is going to show us a success here. So we are going to wait until it runs to the end, and then we are going to see, and you can even see it here. This is success. You can see success here. You say it says account found, file transfer protocol, and you can see it here. So I'm going to stop it because it will keep on running. So I'm going to stop it, and then I am going to explain. Now, if you look here, you see success. What is this telling us? Medusa is simply telling us that there is a certain operating system known as 192.168.40.155. There is a certain user in this organization using this operating system, and his name is MSF admin, and his password is MSF admin, and it shows us a success here. This is how a brute force attack is done or directed towards a file transfer protocol. Let's say, for example, that you wanted to run this on a service like secure shell, secure shell. So you are going to come here. Why will you be running it on secure shell in the first place? You are going to be running it on secure shell because secure shell is a protocol that will give you a shell access. It will give you that remote access to the victim operating system so that you can continue, or you can gain maybe a backdoor, or you can run commands like who am I to check what that operating system is. Think of a shell like a script created by an attacker to use to gain access to a target's operating system. So I am going to put SSH, which stands for secure shell, and then I hope it is correct. Let me take backward. SSH, sorry, backward, okay, and I hit enter. And you are going to see that it is going to run like this other one here. You see it has started again. Account check. Now you can see that the service has changed. It's no longer file transfer protocol, but now it is secure shell. The reason we run this, like I said initially, is because you want to now check if you can be able to gain remote access to the system, gain a shell, the script which I talked of, and then you can continue or try to see the host operating systems version and all of that, and then you can use the credentials which you may have found, which is MSF admin, MSF admin, and now you can be able to log into that operating system. So we are going to allow it to run again so that we can be able to get that shell, or we can be able to see how it gets us that username and password. And now see that it has given us a success here like this. This is a success. And this is how you can use these services to be able to brute force a particular operating system. So I am going to come down here. Let's say, for example, now that let's try to run it on a list of usernames which does not have the password. Let's say we run it on one of the password list, which is very much renowned in the industry, which is known as rocku.txt. If I hit rocku.txt like this, now what you are going to notice here is that Medusa is going to run, but it's not going to give us any results. Why is it not going to give us a result? Because Medusa because this list of passwords here do not have that password which matches the list of usernames that are found here. It is going to run, but it is not going to get us any results. I am not going to let this run for a very long time because I know within me that it doesn't have the username or the password to it, and it is a very long list. So I am just going to stop it, and you are going to see the reason why I'm doing this at the end of this tutorial. So now that I have stopped this, the Control C to abort. I am going to clear my screen. And now here comes the most important part of this tutorial. Now, in the industry, you are going to carry out an attack because you are in the offensive part of cybersecurity and you are a penetration tester. But now you are going to give a report and you are going to give proposed defensive measures or security measures which are supposed to be put in place or which should be put in place so as to be able to counteract or to mitigate such an attack. Now, the first thing you are going to be telling the organization is that it should avoid the use of weak passwords or using common passwords. Now, if I do an ls and we go back to this file where we have these passwords here, let's do cat password.txt. Look at these passwords. You are seeing passwords like I love you, password 123, admin, MSF admin, ninja, football, and handball. These are very weak passwords. So the first thing you are going to be proposing in your report as a defensive measure is that every user in that organization should make sure that he get a complex password. You are also going to work in communication or propose to the developers that when they develop their tools or a web-facing application, they should make sure that that web-facing application should not provide verbose answers. When I say a verbose answer, what I mean is that if, for example, someone tries to log into an operating system and he gets a response like password is not correct, it means that the username may be correct, meaning that he might now have a clue that there is a particular user in that organization. So verbose answers are not good. Now, the second way which you can be able to analyze or get hold of an attack like this one is to use multi-factor authentication. It is going to block users from getting access into systems which they don't own, because in multi-factor authentication, the legitimate user of that system is going to need to provide what we call a one-time password, which will prevent, and the attacker does not have that because it is going to be pointing to the person's email or the person's or the employee's personal phone number. So the last and the most important thing which I told you that you should watch this tutorial till the end is how to check our system to see if there was somebody here and to see if maybe the logs were cleared. So I am going to do something like ls-la, and then I am going to visit log files. Now you can see that the log files in these operating systems are found in a directory known as the var log authentication log files. So what are we doing here? We want to see if there was somebody here and if there was, or if he cleared his tracks or every activity that may have happened. Before proceeding, think of log like every recording that could happen in this system. So I'm going to hit enter and it says read and write one root admin, and you are seeing the dates. So if you are in the defensive industry, you are now going to be looking at who logged into this operating system at this time and what the person did there. Another thing we can do is do start, and then you point to the same directory here and you hit enter. And now if you look here, what are you going to be looking at? You see every information or information here about who gain access to this system. You are seeing you see the device, the links, you see the access, and you are seeing the timestamp. Timestamp is very important. The date is very important for you to carry out your forensic investigation. The log file or the authentication log files is very important to check your operating systems. And if these files are deleted, it is a problem. So one of the most important things as a cybersecurity engineer and someone in the defensive industry is to always check the log files to see if there was a malicious actor or if there was a strange user in that system, and then you can now be able to know who or when he gained access and how to mitigate or how to stop this attacker by making sure that every user change their password and username in that system. So this is how brute forcing is done using Medusa. Please, this is for educational purposes. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more videos like this, and stay safe out there. Bye bye. My name is Banaken Guillaume, and I am a certified ethical hacker.